back. Hold on, I'm calling my mom podcast. I am
Hi,
Paul.
y'all. Hi.
Barbara, yes, she's ready to go. She's excited about this week's episode.
I really am.
Barb
I'm
needs some.
always excited about all of our episodes. We really do get some amazing people.
We really have. I'm proud
We
of the
really
people
have.
that have
Yeah.
come on, been willing to share their voice. As always, thanks for joining us and listening to us. You were complimenting me before we started rolling on this jacket that I got.
I know. It's so 80-ish.
I know. Am I giving you like Ferris Bueller's Day Off meets Breakfast Club?
Yeah. Absolutely.
This is one of my little Idlewild California finds at a little store that
I
we were
love
thrifting,
it. Very 80s. Like you need the
right?
parachute pants with it.
Oh, that's
Like
like
that
MC
textured.
Hammer.
Yeah, like that textured pants with it, you know. I
Some
had sweatsuits like that. I had a
what is it?
pink, green, and white one.
I, I really wish you would have kept like your vintage clothes
I know. I had a
because
pink,
now
green, and white one like that.
I would have worn it.
Yeah.
I really would have.
No, totally.
Like all that stuff's in now, and I'm like, damn, I don't even know.
I had a gold pair of like real MC Hammer like pants. They're back, right? Aren't they? I don't know what they're called now, but
No, all this stuff's coming back. That's why when you were going through for my birthday, looking through pictures for me, you found my undies, and I'm like, girl, that's what you kept out of all things. You didn't keep like the cute baby bops, Teletubbies, like puzzle place outfits. You kept my drawers. That's what we got saved. I'm like, well, no one's fitting in
next
them.
episode, people, for the people who watch it on YouTube, I'm bringing them out. Little Lion King ones. They're like this big.
That's chic. That's chic. Lion King, at least. Okay.
It says like Simba on it.
Says, I can't wait to be king. Right on the little butt.
They were literally like this big, weren't they?
Yeah,
So
they
cute.
were tiny.
Yeah. Why do I keep things like that? Yeah. I'm not a
Oh.
hoarder.
And going back to the astrology episode where I was like, Mom, let's organize this. Let's put these boxes here every time I come to your house. No,
Yeah.
she's not a hoarder. She's just saving my.
I just emotionally keep things.
Yeah. Well, now you're on a new quest of wanting this tattoo that you were talking about.
Yes, because I saw someone who posted something on, I don't know, one of the social media things.
Not the social media things.
I know. I'm gonna get a little phone with the cord.
Should we get one? And you get half the heart. You get half the heart shaped like a phone, and I'll get another heart shaped like. Where would I get it at though? Like inside my.
I want a wrist one. This is where
I mean, like inside my forearm.
Yeah, you should get it there.
Okay, that's like that has to be like our 500th episode. Like that has to be like a really big event that we're like gonna end up getting.
I am. I'm gonna get a little phone, like an old-fashioned phone with a little curly cord.
Yeah, and the cord can be shaped like a heart, half a heart.
Oh yeah, I was just like gonna do it like a cord and then have something of you two like right here.
Hold on, I'm calling my mom podcast is an us thing. Brett needs to get his own symbolism with you.
Brett's the one who's been begging you for a tattoo.
I know. There's always this family tattoo.
Like, what's the one he always says?
Good night, sweet dreams. I love you. I'm like, I'm not getting that on me. That was like a saying in our house. We still say it, like when we hang up with each other.
We still say it every night. We say good night, sweet dreams. I love you. And Brett's always like, let's get that one.
I'm like, I'm not getting good night, sweet dreams. Maybe if I had, see, this is the thing. I was always like that type of bitch that was like, would you put a bumper sticker on a Bentley? Like,
girl, bye. Girl, bye.
Like very Kardashian-esque, like when Kim would say it, and I always thought it was funny. But like, I love tattoos, and I love the artistry behind them, and I love when they look like certain people can pull them off so well, like it just fits.
Yeah.
Like Brett feels like a tattoo person. Like there are people who just have tattoos, and it just makes perfect sense. I don't feel like a tattoo fits me, to be honest. Like I just can't see it on me.
Yeah, I do. Because yeah, I do. Because you're like creative and you're like just like tattoos tell stories sometimes.
Yeah, I think I'm really scared of needles. Like I've always been petrified of them, and I'm just like, why am I like? I remember you bringing me back. Like it literally still lives in my head rent free. Is that we went back. I think I like held on to the door and was like, like the door frame, like I was getting yanked by a whole team of people because I was
Talk
not good.
about pit sweat. You
Yeah,
had it on your head. You were like, I literally had to
crying.
sit you on my lap.
But it's still traumatizing to me, and that's why I'm like, why the fuck would I sign myself up to go under and get a tattoo of something that I'm like deathly afraid of? What I really want to do is
And you've been there with me and Brett getting them. So you
yeah,
see what occurs.
I do feel like I have a high pain tolerance,
Yes.
but I just am like, I don't know. What I'm gonna do is pop up on you guys and really just surprise the shit out of everybody because it's so unexpected that I'm just gonna get it and see what everyone says.
We're like Brett Paul will be like, "We're going to get one," and then he'll get the dot and it'll be
I got it. It like fades off. It like fades away at certain points. Yeah, I just the thing about tattoos is that I just really am like, I need to love something so badly to put it on me, and it has to make sense. Like,
Yeah.
people view tattoos as just like, "Oh, I can outgrow," and it's like, I'm like, "Oh, no, if it's on me, it needs to be like, I love my mom, I love my brother, I love my boyfriend," like, but I'm not go like, I don't wanna write their names on like, what is something
No, I
cute?
always have said that. Never get someone's name on your body,
You always
ever.
have said that.
Yes. Don't ever do that.
I'm gonna get Jordy in big letters all
Cross
tattooed.
your back.
Yeah, because he would love
Bold letters.
yeah. I wanna get something I'm kind of feeling like an 1111, a 444. I have a couple things, like, written down, like, quotes of, like,
I
poetry
was
or
just
things
gonna
that
say, like, quotes. I could just see you with a quote.
it's gotta really speak to me. You know how I am, I'm thinking 10 years, 20 years. I'm
Yeah.
like, if this is going to be on my I'm not an impulse person, I'm a very, like even
No.
with this podcast, I, like, set
Yeah.
it up, it started coming to me, and I'm like, "No, I need to make sure that I'm, like, creating it the way that I want to," the same way I would do if I'm putting art on my body, is that I'm gotta make sure it's the right person, it's exactly what I want it. Like,
Yeah.
Brett gets, like, the Pennywise clown, like, drawn on him. I'm like, "That's great, and I love that for you, but that's not me because I don't know if I'm gonna
No.
love that in 10 years."
Right. No, I want, like, something like, I would do the breathe, or I want a lotus. Um, I want something meaningful here. Yeah.
Barb's tatted down.
I have 2 of them.
Barb got a tramp stamp.
I do.
Who would
But
I
it's
remember
very pretty.
it's beautiful. That was Barb's big gift to herself at 40. Graduated nursing school. It was a new renaissance of her. She unexpectedly, got a tattoo at 40. And I
Maria
remember
came with me. Maria came with me.
shout out to Maria.
Yeah.
And I I really remember like not even knowing what a tramp stamp was.
Let's not call it that. It
No, I
just
don't like the name of that. But I'm
yeah,
saying that was like I hate that that was
I know.
like a term like the a
I
little
just got it there because I was like, "Oh, it's easy to cover. I'm gonna be a nurse. I don't wanna," you know what I mean? Like, I thought it always looked cute when I seen people, like, in bathing suits or a shirt, when I had a body where I could wear the shirt cropped up.
you still do. You got body yaddy yaddy yaddy.
Can't do it.
Hey, there you go. Break it down. No, it looks cute on you. It's a beautiful sunflower, and then you have on your foot a brain tumor cancer awareness ribbon with
Mhm.
it's all about the climb, which is a song that's tied to Miley Cyrus, The Climb. That is a very empowering song that will make Barb break down in tears.
You wanna make Barb cry, you just put that
Play the
song on.
climb. Play the
Put the
climb.
climb on, and Barb loses it. Any
I
time of day, anytime anything.
we
That's an
really
empowering song. I love that song.
that song is a strong song.
Strong song.
Lil Miley was singing her pipes off at 14
Yeah.
with that song. She was given everything.
The time that that song came out,
It's just a period.
it was just a period. Yeah.
Let's keep this podcast going. Let's see as we maybe venture into a studio at one point, we can do a real fun episode, get tattooed while we're podcasting. Let's set the bar high, right?
I don't know, maybe next time I'll have something.
Uh-oh. Well, speaking of the social media things or whatever you just proclaimed when you said that, not Facebook, not Instagram, not social media channels, the social media things.
The social media things.
I despise going on Facebook anymore. I love Facebook because it's a calendar for birthdays. I love it for
Yes.
that reason, and I love when it pops up a fun memory that you're like, "Oh my god, I forgot." Other than that, I'm like, "Why? Why? What is this? Who?
People
Why?"
tell their whole life stories.
It's just not like that's fine. I mean, girl, we're on a podcast doing ours, but I'm just like, I mean,
Yeah, but it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, very true.
it just feels so. Facebook just should just go with MySpace, and we should just say RIP and leave it at that point. It just feels like I feel like anytime I'm on there, it's like, oh my, it's someone from high school that you're just like, this is how they really feel. It feels very heavy.
Yes,
Sometimes it's like, I don't know if I want to voluntarily be a part of this ride when I open up my feed.
yeah.
And there's somebody in particular, every time I go on Facebook, for that one day that I check in the morning, see whose birthday it is, I get a notification, I just open it. There's this person who keeps popping up now because now I have engaged.
Algorithm.
Yes, it picks up. So that person is always the first person that is popping up for me. And every day there is, I'm kind of like invested secretly. That's like another reason why I don't want to get rid of it because I'm invested in this person's life now from
Yes.
afar. They post everything and it's like every day it's like just life is so bad, it's miserable, they have a bad relationship with their kids, they can't sleep, they can't find a job, they can't have enough money for food, they're fighting with their children's father. It's just always something and I'm like, how
Always.
exhausting to live like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind, "Hey, sure, that's real life stuff," but it's like every day there's something, it's just always negative, and I'm just like,
Always negative.
how is this person, like, going through life every I'm like, no wonder why they're claiming they're sick in bed a lot because I'm like, it's so negative.
Yeah, it's literally eating their soul.
Yeah, I'm just like, "Oh my gosh." Like,
Yeah.
I send you the screenshots sometimes because 'cause I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, you can't make this." It's like every day there's some, like, new tragedy, and I'm just like, "Holy shit."
Yeah, there's never like, "Life's good, we like nothing."
No,
Always
nothing.
negative.
The
Like,
basement's flooded, their car
yeah,
got hit, a tree fell on the house. It's like, I feel bad for this person going through it, but I'm also like, it just there's gotta be a way of, like, reframing your mind to find some positivity. Like, I kinda use it as, like, "Okay, this is not what you wanna do.
right.
I hope this gets in the hands of the person and they can listen to this episode about shifting perspectives and mindset," because I'm like, "Girl,
Optimism.
I'm
Yes.
I'm right there with that person some days. Some days I'm like, "Shit, it's rough out here," but we gotta keep on going and know at the end of the day, there's a bigger, greater purpose that we're headed for, and this is those little setbacks are just hurdles. Look at me preaching today.
I know, look at you, preach.
Yeah, tomorrow could be a whole 'nother story. I could be in bed curled up, not wanting to, but hey, today I'm here, and I have a purpose, and it's to use this platform for the greater good. But it really is, we talk about, you and I always about just having, just not being negative and feeding off of that and just how toxic and how it can bleed into your life so personally that it's just affecting everything. Like if you can look back at the day and say there's not one thing that I was
Right.
happy or excited about, that's bad.
That's bad. That's
And
sad.
it's very sad.
Yeah.
And I think, you've always instilled definitely the mentality of like half glass full, not half glass empty. That was always something that you made sure to, like, implement because I think, many times we grew up in a house where it was just like this and that, and everything was just always such a, like, it sucks the life out of you. It's just such an
Yeah.
energy sucker to continue in life on autopilot like that, it really is.
Yeah.
Well, today we have somebody who can give us quite the insight and enlighten us with some good golden gems and help us sprinkle them throughout our lives for people who are like us, who are, we do have those setbacks, we do feel down, but like, how can we keep persevering? How can we keep going? How can we find the key of happiness? What can we do? So I can't wait to talk to Dr. Deepika Chopra. She is known as the Optimism Doctor. You've seen her on, Good Morning America, The Today Show, Forbes, but she's been covered everywhere
Yes.
talking about her practice and implementing just optimism throughout your life and what that looks like compared to optimism and happiness. And they're under the same umbrella, but two different things. And
Yes.
just feel like she'll be able to shed a little light on us and
And we
help.
all need a little light.
We do. And definitely this poor thing on Facebook that's going through it every day. So, with that being said, let's welcome to the podcast Dr. Chopra. I'm so honored to have you. We have to say this, but we have a mutual friend. Shout out to Claire. We absolutely love her. And
Love you.
I and I love your work. And I was like, oh my God, we need her on the podcast. Everybody needs to be seeing an optimism doctor because I know I sure as hell need to.
Absolutely.
I sure as hell need to too. I can tell you that.
So, Dr. Chopra, what is an optimism doctor?
First of all, I have a burning question. I can't go on. Sometimes when I'm thinking about something, I can't go on until I ask it. Are you guys in the same place? Like, are you in
No.
the same house? Oh, you're in different. Okay.
Paul's in California. I'm in New Jersey.
Oh, okay. So this really is call my mom. Like, okay. This isn't
That's
just
why I
like
said-
mom down the door. This is like
in the room.
Mom's 3,000 miles away.
I'm impressed. I love this idea of a mom and son podcast.
Thank you.
I don't really feel like there's anything out there like that, you know?
No,
Yeah.
I love it. Can I call you mom?
Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, you don't look old enough to be my mom, but
Thank you.
She loves you
I don't
forever.
even look. I don't feel like he just turned 32, so
Yeah.
that's the whole thing.
Yeah,
Talk about
exactly.
optimism.
I love it. The truth is, there was no such thing as an optimism doctor before. I did not really name myself that. It sort of happened organically in my practice, and I'm older than you by like 10 years, almost 10 years, 9 years.
Well, this is where I come in to say you don't look like you could be 10 years older than me. See how we get the
Absolutely
compliment?
not.
Thank you. Thank
We
you.
give it right back.
Yeah.
I know. I love it. Since a kid, I need to know why. I need the proof of everything. I have always been seeking that. And I needed, I could not just base something off of because it's so. I'm like, but why? How does it work? What do you mean you can think about something and ask the universe for it and then it will come into your lap?
Yeah.
And so I was sort of drawn to ideas like that, but I was also a bit skeptical and I wanted to sort of understand what this idea of manifestation was about at that time, really, really long ago. And I think secondly, I also came from parents that were, now I know when I define optimism, what it truly is, that we're pretty optimistic. And they both are immigrants and came to this country for, the American dream at the time. And my dad specifically, he doesn't even know he does it, but he is practices all the tools in real mindset shift and optimism and optimistic thinking and mindset, and probably I was watching by modeling and I was just so intrigued by it all. And so I started one hand becoming sort of obsessive about that in the brain, what is the idea of thought process and how do we change people's thoughts and how do we anticipate a better thought. And then I also, I think early on, realized, knowing the person I was, I really couldn't just go through a master's and a doctorate and a lifetime of just only listening to people's deepest, darkest fears and low points without being able to bring sort of this piece of okay, well, now what? And what are we excited about? And so I knew that I kind of was starting to embark on things a little bit differently. And it was a very, at the time, selfish, organic way of experiencing how I wanted to experience my program and the clinical practices. And I ended up doing a double postdoc fellowship after many internships at UCLA and Cedars. And again, at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles and UCLA. I just say it as if everyone knows because it's down the street. Some of us on this call are from New Jersey. So I ended up, again, having really amazing mentorship. And both my supervisors were really interested in allowing me to utilize the population that I was working with this sort of new, innovative like way I wanted to do things. And I was really, really into this idea on science-based sensory visual imagery. So using visualization tools to like help people come up with more positive thoughts about their future. So I focused really early on and it kind of became my niche. I'm uncovering that the brain is an anticipatory organ and it's constantly thinking about the future. So we should have modalities in therapy that are based in like, shifting our future thoughts and beliefs. And we got to use visual imagery. And so I was like really passionate about that. And I found that thankfully there were people, in these high up institutions that were interested. And I worked as a psycho-oncologist for a few years at UCLA, and I was able to use visual imagery and train the interns on visual imagery, and sometimes use it pre-surgery or at the bedside of chemotherapy treatments. And it was really effective. And then it was really effective for anxiety. It became really effective in my own practice for people. I'm in LA, so it became like, people that were in business or people in the industry, and whether it was pre auditions or pre
Yeah.
huge meetings. And so that sort of became my specialty.
I actually wanted to ask you, because you being the optimism doctor, is there a key of finding true happiness in life? I think that's something that we all seek. I know me personally, I wake up every day and it's like, sometimes you're just kind of like floating on by and you have this beautiful life and we don't see it in the way that we should. We always want something more. We're never fully satisfied. Is there a key to finding true optimism and happiness in life? Can people who are looking for that find hope knowing that there's something out there?
I mean, this is like the number $1 million question. And I know everybody wants something really simple, like a pill or a tool or like one thing they can do. And I always feel so bad being like, of course, it sounds so cliche, but there is no magic bullet. There's nothing magical that is going to be one thing that makes you happier and more optimistic. It's work, it's a lifestyle, it's an actual lifestyle shift, and it's an everyday practice, it's a muscle. One thing that I would say that I have found through all the research that is pretty consistent that can help is getting better uninterrupted quality sleep. And there's lots of different ways. It's kind of why there is the things are looking up optimism deck of cards behind me, which is my deck of cards, and then I have a kids version. But there's many different ways, and I think what I'm passionate about is helping people find what, like, putting together their own toolbox. And so what works for you might be different than what works for mom,
Mhm.
and what works for me. But there are like the cool, amazing thing is both the things you're talking about are optimism and in general, like it's a muscle. So it can be learned. It is not something, despite, misconception, that is just something you're born with and that's it. And that it's innate. It's actually something we can learn, and it's a muscle that we can sort of practice and becomes easier and easier to elevate. I think that there are a number of modalities that we all can be doing, and there's small habit shifts,
Mhm.
and then ritualizing them, like spending more time outdoors is a big one. Research really shows that, if you spend just on average 2 hours a week outdoors, you have a more positive outlook, you have a boost in mood, and a reduction in stress cortisol levels. The uninterrupted sleep, the happiest people they found actually sleep uninterrupted for 6 hours and like 15 minutes. So it's sort of, not everyone is this like 8 hour thing. Like, it's what works for you. I need more than that. My husband needs probably less than that. But it's this idea of
I definitely need more of that too. I'm like,
I need more of that.
Me too. Unfortunately, I'm at the age where it's so interrupted.
Yeah, me
she's getting
too. I
she's
mean,
getting
I've
hot
got
flashes.
and I really notice it. Like, I've had uninterrupted sleep now for like 2 weeks, ever since summer, like the end of summer break, and then we just haven't had the rhythm yet. And I am like operating at such a low level, and it's so hard to, like, you can't make up sleep. Like, you just have to
Right.
like get back on like a rhythm
Mhm.
and consistent with it. But sometimes it's not possible. And so some of these things are not possible in different seasons of our life, but all we can do is try to make it a little better. So, there's certain things I can do to help my uninterrupted sleep, which is, for me, I'm going to be woken up by the kids sometimes. I can't really help that. And I'm the type of mom that is going to get out of my bed, figure out what's going on, or
Yeah.
sometimes I'm too tired to kick one of the kids out of the bed when they come in, and I just let them sleep even though I'm sandwiched between, like,
Oh, absolutely.
my
I did
son and
that
my
all the
husband.
time. I was like,
Yeah,
"If it gives me more sleep, come on in."
but there are some things that we can do, and I think this is such an important lesson of, like, there are many things we can't control, and that is hard for us as humans, all of us, but there are
Yeah,
some things we can control, and, like, the work is really focusing on what you can control. So I try not to sleep. I used to sleep with my phone, like, next to my pillow, and I used to say the excuse. I started doing that because I was listening to the monitor on my phone. But then it would just be there, and if I'd, like, kind of we all wake up in the middle of the night. If you've ever been around a kid, you can see that they wake up, they kinda make noises, and they fall back asleep. The same thing where we go through sleep rhythms.
right.
But if you sort of wake up and you're then fully awake because you reach over and look at your phone and, check Instagram or whatever it is. Recently, I just found TikTok. This is new for me. And that's been a wow.
You're down a
Wow
rabbit
is all I
hole.
can say.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not fully sure how to be on it yet, but like, whoa, to the stuff, like all the news I get from TikTok now. I mean, I don't, it's
Everything.
Sensory
on,
overload.
Yeah.
it is.
Let me ask you though, because like if I was somebody hearing this, and I'm like, oh, because I mean, I love this stuff. That's why this podcast is like everything. I love doing.
Yeah, we're
Me and my mom
very
are
yeah.
very in sync about,
Yeah.
girl, we gotta shake ourselves off and like get back up again, type shit. So it's like,
Yeah.
how if somebody is struggling of like finding happiness. I know, like you said, it's a very subjective of what really makes people spark and what they're inspired by, but like simple tools of getting good sleep, putting
Hmm.
your phone away. Are there affirmations in the mirror? Like what else would you kind of, suggest for somebody who's like, I really need a change and I really need to start
Well, just
getting.
to piggyback off of that, is optimism the same thing as happiness?
Such a good question. No, they're intertwined. They're really not the same thing. And I do want to come back to, I actually think, and there's been a ton of work on this, like the constant search for happiness is actually making people unhappy.
Right.
So it's more about, again, it's a daily practice of almost like good emotional hygiene, if that makes sense. And then
Mhm.
while you're on that path, it is so cliche to say, like I almost can't stand saying it, but it's so right. It's true. It's like the journey of just living is the happiness. Like if you can add more joy to your life, like that increases our level of happiness. If you can, and satisfaction, and if you can manage big emotions when they come, because by the way, they will come. If you
Mhm.
can have a better relationship with stress, I think that's a huge thing that, like stress and worry, everyone thinks that the master to this is to not be stressed, like to be in bliss and like just no stress. Like that's what happiness is. That's the goal. Stress is just a response to daily living for
Yeah.
humans. So if you have a better relationship with the idea of stress, of course, when it's taken to another level and it becomes pervasive and it's chronic stress, it can be really bad for our physical and mental health. But some level of stress and worry is normal, and so if we don't add to it this feeling of like shame and guilt, like, oh God, I'm allowing myself to be stressed, like that in itself is now becoming more in the level of chronic stress. Where if you can look at it and be like, we as humans were meant to experience the full range of emotions. That includes happiness, it includes joy, it includes being in awe, it includes sadness, it includes mourning, anger, guilt, frustration, all of these emotions we were actually meant as humans to experience. And so the
Right.
goal here is not to not experience these things and think that the perfect sort of scenario is to be in bliss 24/7. That's actually impossible. And we're setting ourselves up for failure, and that's what we call toxic positivity.
Yeah.
And that is very different. A true definition of optimism is someone that is optimistic is rooted in reality, despite what some people think. People think, optimism is about, the glass half full and wearing rose colored glasses and only
Mhm.
seeing the positive. But truly, it's about someone that sees roadblocks and setbacks and less than ideal situations as temporary and something that they have the ability to overcome. But they're very mindful that they exist. And I'm going to know that, like, I've been through shit before. Sorry, mom.
No, please.
I was gonna say, do you know who she's talking to? This mouth is reckless. This mouth is reckless. She literally said before you came on, she was like, it's Claire's friend. You got to make sure that. And I'm like,
I'm like, she's a doctor. Like, make sure you keep it clean, okay?
No, this is like,
it's a safe
this is
space.
about being real.
Thank
And,
you.
Yes.
and I think that's what a lot of people get wrong about optimism. And that's what my whole goal and practice is teaching. And I also like to share with people that I am not the most optimistic person. Like, I am in no way the poster person of optimism. I know the science, and I'm really good at helping other people increase their optimism and increase their, optimal living and lifestyle. But I am probably the least optimistic person, like, to start with at baseline in my like microcosm of family, and I'm constantly doing the work too, like, and it's not easy sometimes, but it does become easier over time because of the way that our brain works. And so it's kind of like stretching your brain, and practicing certain things. Like, for example, I always use the example of like when you drive to work every single day or to school or wherever you're going, at some point you get there and you're like, I don't even know how I got here, because your brain has already created these like neural pathways and it becomes sort of automatic, and you drive there so that it can start tending to other stimuli that's happening. And so, for better or worse, sometimes it works in our favor, like that. Or when our brain tells us to release the amount of insulin we think we're about to eat because we're used to knowing what we're going to eat. Sometimes it can work in our favor. We need that. There's too much stimulation to process. We need the pathways. But other times, we're acting on autopilot, and that can be really dangerous. And so, we
Yeah.
have to sort of stop and think, like, what do we want to think about? And so we don't always have control over a lot of things, but we do have control over our thought process in many ways. And I think it's important, to be realistic in this scenario. And a lot of people say, do you just not listen to sort of the bad stimuli, like the news, for example? I actually don't believe that. And a lot of people think it's surprising when I say, I don't have any rules against, like, you must turn off all the news and not listen to it, and ignorance is bliss. I actually think
Right.
knowledge is power. And if you know what's going on, you might be that person that can make the change. But I do believe in boundaries. And so I think that, like, going through life learning how your brain works and then helping yourself make your brain work for you together, not like against you, is a great way to go through life. It's like when you exercise physically, you have a routine that you do. I don't yet, but I need to. But like mentally, there's that too. And so, like, on that journey, when you're taking care of your brain and your emotional health, then you're going to be more happy. So, it's really about like taking care and self care. And I don't mean just like bubble baths.
Well, when you
Right.
said the thing about like it being power, like using emotions as like a power tool in a way, like using it to your advantage, my therapist had said to me in the past, like, wow, like you always kind of turn, like, anytime I would say something, it would be like, it's not working in my favor, but I do believe this will happen to me. Like, oh, I know. It's just kind of like, I'll be okay. Like, I always kind of do say that, even though deep down inside, I'm like, fuck, I want this to happen so bad, but I'm going to say it out loud because I want to put it out in the universe that like it
Yeah.
is going to happen for me. It's just not on my time frame of when I want it to happen. How much is shifting your perspective? Like my mom has always been very glass half full, not empty. And I know you've
Right,
talked.
which I laughed when you made that comment because that's like my favorite saying. I'm always like, look, everyone, like, let's look at it this way.
Yeah,
So when you said that, I always say that. Yeah.
it's her slogan.
I think like the part to be careful of with that, and I talk a lot about affirmations, and again, it might be surprising in how I talk about them, but the important part is that if you truly believe it. So our brains are very powerful, and our brain knows what's up. So you cannot really trick your brain. You can trick your brain to a certain level. But if you have been believing a certain belief for like 30 years, and then all of a sudden you just want to look in the mirror and say the opposite, like, that is not what's going to work. Your brain is going to gather all the evidence to why you actually feel that that's not true. And then it is going to shame you too and be like, how dare you just think that you can say the opposite? But if there is something in there that you believe, and I like the way you said it, like, I want this so badly, I don't know if this is my time, but I actually do believe it's going to happen. That is a true belief. And my standard with that is you can use an affirmation if you truly believe it's 7 out of 10. It's my like 7 out of 10 rule that I practice with my clients. because actually there's been tons of research to show that affirmations can actually be kind of detrimental, especially to the people that are using it and that really truly need sort of the shift the most. If you hold a belief like that you're not lovable and you really want a relationship so badly, but you truly believe you're not someone that deserves love, standing in front of a mirror and just saying, I deserve love is not going to make your mind shift in any way. In fact, it's probably going to work against you because you have 35 plus years of, knowledge and evidence to collect where like that made that other belief true. And so it's really best to start with an affirmation that you truly believe. And so in that case, if I was working with that person, I would much rather like really uncover for them like what is one thing you really love about yourself? Just one thing or that you
Yeah.
kind of like about yourself. Maybe we're not going to say I love myself fully or I'm, a lovable person yet, but that's what we're working towards. But maybe they can say I tell a great story. I'm a loyal friend. How are you a loyal friend? Oh, well, I picked my friend up from the airport. I'm always there to
Listen, if you
listen
go
to
to
them.
LAX to pick me up, that is a loyal friend.
That is a loyal friend. I know. I don't even know if
Well,
people
I
do
was
that
gonna
anymore.
say, like, we know someone that always is that person, life
Woe is me. Woe
sucks,
is me.
woe is me,
Mm.
there's nothing ever gonna be good in my
Yes.
life. Like, just it's constant. There's never a positive word or thought or future or anything. Do people like that really change if they can they? Or is
I
it that
truly,
just someone who really is like that?
truly believe that all people can change. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. But the caveat with that is it takes hard work and the person has to want it bad enough. So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
change is, I think, the hardest space to be in for all humans. Yet, it is something that is obviously constant. And so, it is something that is hard for all of us. And the only way that we can achieve change is you have to want something and know why your life would be so much better to have that thing, so much more than what you currently have or the existence of in order for you to do any sort of change. And unless you know the why and the purpose and sort of what your life would look like with that change and truly believe that it is a possibility, it's very hard to change. And so in my world, I always am saying everyone focuses on the want, right? Like, I know what
Yeah.
I want. I made the vision board. I know exactly what I want. Like, the want, it is important. The want's important, but it's not the most important thing. You can want something until the cows come home, but unless you expect that it can happen for you, it's probably not happening.
Yeah.
So we don't always get what we want, but we most always get what we expect. And so the true work lies in helping people change their expectation and closing the gap between the want and the expectation. If
Oh,
that
what
makes
you just said really, like, resonated, and, like, when you said that, it stirred such feelings because of who we're talking about. So, I like to hear that. Yeah.
I think the best way to help someone like that is, sometimes when someone's really ruminating and stuck, and this sounds like a lot of very pessimistic thinking. That is sort of the nature of pessimistic thinking. The language and the stories they tell are sort of a lot of these never, always, it's permanent. And that's something that I try really hard in talking about kids, which is a whole nother thing. It's important the language we use. But in working with someone like that, I would encourage you to sort of in a playful way have them be in a space where like what if X, Y, and Z was different? Like what would this look like? What would it feel like? For example, visual imagery, which is what I specialize in and what I think it's such a powerful tool. Sometimes people that are open and receptive, you can actually ask them to visualize something and they can do it. Other times when you are sitting across from someone who is really struggling and really stuck, like for example, when I was at the hospital, I was working with a woman who really truly wanted to lose weight and be healthier, but she was really stuck and she could not see. I could never ask her to just visualize a life in which she felt different, was healthier, and could even imagine shedding weight or making healthier dietary choices or even walking. But sometimes when you use language that is, and I'm say this word carefully, but manipulative in a good way
Right, right,
for the best,
Yeah.
right.
um, it really helps them. Like I asked her, I didn't ask her to do that, but I asked her, who's the first person you're going to tell when you lose 50 pounds? And she was like, my mom. And I was like, oh, where will you be when you tell her? and she knew exactly where she would be. What would you be wearing? Does it smell like anything? So we've really just got her to visualize and experience
Yeah.
an idea that didn't exist before. That was hard for her because it was like a leading question that sort of forced her mind to imagine something. And once your mind
I
imagines
imagine
something,
something happy. Yeah.
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 And once your mind imagines something, the mirror neurons, the way they work, it's really hard for the brain to tell the difference of something that's real or something you imagined. And so now it's a possibility, a small one,
Yeah.
but it's a possibility.
Yeah,
So
I
when
like that word, possibility. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
mentioned 7 out of 10 technique in your practice. For somebody like myself, what exactly is that technique, and what does it entail?
So that to me is really my way of helping people use affirmations in a positive, effective way rather than just thinking that they're self-limiting beliefs that they've believed for so long that are core beliefs now are going to change because they just said the opposite in front of a mirror 5 times in the morning and 5 times at night or after a yoga class. You want to direct your brain to think something. You should start with something that you truly believe 7 out of 10. So you rate it. So if you were like, with your example, if you were like, I really want this thing to happen, I don't think it's going to happen now. So you expect it not to happen now, but I really do believe it's going to happen in my future. How much do you believe that thing? And I know we're talking about something hypothetical, it's not specific, I don't know, but how much do you believe that to actually be true? And if it is 7 out of 10, then I want you to say whatever that thing is, and that you could use that in affirmation. If it's like 2 out of 10, 4 out of 10, you're not ready to use that as an affirmation yet. That's not going to work for you. So let's work backwards and find a true affirmation you believe 7 out of 10 that is in that same family that you can actually use. And then the more you think that, the more you're going to start to, your brain's going to start picking other sort of thoughts that are similar to it and think that. And you're going to put that in program. Our brains have limited attentional capacity. So if you can master sometimes being able to control what your brain thinks, then it's not thinking some other things when it just goes off wild because you're putting enough attentional capacity to use.
Well,
If that makes sense.
I mean, I kind of agree with you too. It's like, if you say, I'm never going to be a New York Times best-selling author and I'm not writing a book every day, well, it's like, no shit, because I'm not putting in the work for it, but like,
Right.
Right. And you won't put in the work for it unless you believe it can be true. That's the way our
Right.
brain works. That's the sort of chicken before the egg. Your brain has a lot to do. It is not going to put forth the problem solving portion of it and the executive functioning to actually come up with real thoughts and solutions unless it actually thinks the outcome is a possibility. The same, I will ask a group of thousands of people when I'm speaking, like, who here wants to win the lottery? Do you
Who
want to win the
doesn't?
lottery? Wouldn't it
Right.
be cool? Everybody's hands go up. But
Right.
who here actually bought a lotto ticket this morning? Sometimes 0 or maybe 1 or
Right.
2. And that
That's funny
makes
because
sense
I
to
just
me.
literally said the same. I just said the same thing. It's like $500 million here, and I was like, I need to win the lottery, and they were like, oh, did you get your tickets? I'm like, no.
If you don't believe that you can win the lottery, you're not going to make the effort to actually buy a ticket.
Right.
And so you can't win the lottery then because you didn't buy a ticket. And I'm not saying that if you bought it, you're going to win, but
Right.
the point is that our brains, which again is something we want from our brain, like if you think something is like a 0% chance, we don't need to focus on that. The brain has other things to do.
Right.
So the true part of that is like if I can't get someone to change their expectation truly to believe something they want is going to happen for them and to truly work towards that, then they can want it as much as they want, but it's probably not going to happen. Because, for example, if someone really wants to be in a relationship, they really they want it 10 out of 10, but do they really truly believe that it's going to happen for them, or do they expect it to happen? And that's at like a 2 out of 10. That person, that thought of it's not going to happen is most likely staying home every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and every Wednesday night and
Barb.
Tuesday night.
Just-
If you believe it can happen, and it doesn't have to be like that's the belief, like only there. That's what I'm saying. Like maybe the new belief is listen, we're not ready to say you believe you can be in a relationship. That sounds too far out. And I don't truly believe that. But if I can focus on like, what do you love about yourself? What do you like about yourself? What are your strengths? Things that you truly believe, like it may change your behavior. And then I can maybe push you to like our homework for this week is I want you to go get your coffee at a coffee shop 3 times this week instead of making it at home. So like you're going to put yourself out there because there's a smidgen of you believes that
There's a
like you
chance.
could meet
Yeah.
someone, or you're going to say yes to more things.
And
Or full.
then those thoughts come in and I'm like, "No, I'm good by myself."
Yeah.
But like Dr.
So
Chopra
I'm not
saying,
I'm not ready yet.
you don't really want it. Yeah.
You
Right,
may
You don't.
not.
right,
Or it might be a defense mechanism, or maybe there is some form of like, I'm scared of rejection, or things didn't work out for me before. And so, or I'm comfortable where I'm at. I do want something better, but I'm comfortable and I'm kind of scared to be uncomfortable, which is all valid. All of it is valid. But like, if we really sussed it out and you did want something so much more and it would make such a change, you would find the ways and we would work together to motivate you to put, you have to be willing to be in the discomfort though.
yeah,
That's the thing. Everybody,
yeah,
all of us. And we
yeah,
have to practice almost. I make my clients practice being in discomfort and in uncomfortable conversations or situations all the time in low risk sort of scenarios, because if we program our brain there, when the high risk scenarios come, they're a little more versed in it or practiced in it.
right,
So, if you're working with someone that is afraid to public speak, there might be a ton of things we do that are a little bit outside their comfort zone that don't really have to do with that, but we're practicing. Like that's the thing with our brain. It's all practice.
But if
yeah,
that's not, it perfectly ties back to what you said about every human needs to feel every emotion, whether they like it or not. So if they
Yeah.
need to be in that sticky discomfort to challenge them to get outside of that comfort zone. So it's like a lot of
Yeah.
people push that down because they don't like feeling the discomfort. They
Right.
like their everyday routine and that's what it is. And I think that's where most people find their challenge at.
yeah,
And I think that, like, also, even not liking being in the discomfort, but just working our way up to neutral being in neutrality is such a powerful place to be that is so underrated. Like, we don't have to feel good and we don't have to feel bad. Like, there is a neutral. And I think that's an important place to be and practice. But I was going to say, sometimes what I like to do is help people just be curious. Like, I'm not saying that you have to love this discomforting, situation or being uncomfortable, but like just working to being curious. So like you get a hunger pang, something in your body's happening and it's telling you, you ask, what is this telling me? I'm hungry. Sometimes when you're stressed or anxious or worried, if you just looked at it and said, what is this telling me? Like you can break down the like judgment around the fact that you are worried or anxious about something or stressed. And maybe it's your body doing what it's supposed to do
right,
and just
right,
telling you something like
right.
something's not
Don't
right.
question it. Right. Don't
Right.
question it as in what's wrong with me. Question
Yes,
it in as what is it telling me? Yeah.
Mhm.
exactly.
Or what can I learn from it? Or
Right.
yeah. Or it's, an intuition kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or like sometimes if I'm working with someone or even myself and it's too like it feels like it's too intense to really work cognitively, I will be like, I hold a lot like many people in my body, and I might be like, what is this tension here? Like, where do I feel it in my body? I feel it here. I'm going to like take a few minutes myself to like treat that. So I'm going to
Yeah.
breathe and relax this area of me and sort of like work on my parasympathetic system first. And then you're kind of at a more like your fight or flight system kind of dissolves a little bit, and you're then able to see things a little more clearly. It's very hard for us to see things clearly when we are in fight or flight, or when our body is tense or we are clenched and
Yeah.
we are sweating and we're upset and we're angry or we're seeing red. So sometimes instead of trying to solve the problem and put
Yeah.
the pressure on it in the moment, you sort of ask yourself, like, where am I feeling this in my body? Can I relax that area a little bit? And then ask, like, what is this trying to tell me?
Yeah.
Well, Barb is getting a massage after this. So she's got
I
your words of wisdom and the massage. She's going to be a brand new bitch after this. So
I love it.
she is ready to go.
I already said to him today, I'm like, all right, today's the day. I need this today. So
She stepped down and is making it happen because she wants it. She booked that massage. She's going. She wants it.
Yes.
Dr. Chopra, where can people learn a little bit more about you? Where can they follow you? Tell the people where they can check you out at.
You can find me at my website, Dr. Deepika Chopra, dr.deepikachopra.com, or on Instagram. You can find me at Things Are Looking Up, which is my brand. And I actually love interacting with people just like online. Like there's tons of like conversations I have in my DMs all day long. I probably shouldn't as much, but I love talking about this. And I am like very open about my own journey and transparent about myself working on the tools and when it's been hard for me. So I am right there with you. I am by no means nobody's guru, nor do I ever want to be
No, and I
your
love
own
that
guru.
because it makes you relatable to people that you're not, oh, I'm coming into this and I have perfect life, I have perfect this, I'm that, I have, so it
Yeah,
makes it
no.
relatable if you had struggles and stuff too.
I was like, "Oh my gosh," I was like, "She is the optimism doctor." Like, how calm and, like, peaceful and and then I was just like, wow, it's really refreshing to know that somebody who is so well-versed and knowledgeable about this stuff. I feel less alone that I'm like, even somebody who is a whether you admit it or not, to me, you're like somebody that's like a
You're the
master in this
master
field.
class. Yeah.
Yeah, and you still are like, "Hey, I'm a human, I have my struggles, and it's human nature to not always be positive."
Yeah, it is. But I found I'm always on the journey. And I think a lot of people are. And I think that's the best place and the best start you can be. I also always like to say that there is no time wasted in getting to know yourself. And we don't do a great job of that in our sort of type of world and society. Like we have lost the ability to like really trust our gut and our intuition and our instincts, and our brains were actually built, the majority of it is for intuition and
Yeah,
instinct and gut, and the only way we can get back to that is to like spend time within.
Yeah.
That's also uncomfortable, and that's also a great way to practice. So it's kind of doing less, if that makes sense. And um
And there's no timeline for that.
no.
I think people are like, "Oh, I need to," and I'm like, I'm
yeah,
in my 50s. I'm just starting to learn it now,
Yeah, and that's
I
fine. Like
was
that's what I love about this work is there's no like guilt in it either. Like you could start and be having a great go at it, and then you can also have a season of life where
you fall off the
it's
wagon a little bit.
you fall off the wagon a little bit, and guess what? You get right back on, and you're going to
yeah,
learn something from the fall off the wagon too, so it's not
absolutely,
wasted.
100%.
absolutely.
We've learned that there is no magic pill, so to say, but I'm like, if we have not gotten the enlightenment and tools to at least every little day sprinkle a little bit into our daily routine in our life, I'm like, that's the best
You
way I
know
feel
what
like.
I really love? Actually, impart you with one tool that's one of my favorites. It sounds really simple, but it's so effective. Anytime you experience joy in your everyday life, in your mundane everyday life, when you just like have a ping of joy, stop, think about what you're doing, and have a joy list on your notes section of your phone and put it down. These are where your tools are going to come from. I have a collection, my joy list of all the things like in the moment where I'm like, oh, this makes me really happy right now. I feel this like I'm seeing the leaves move on this one street or this neighbor's yard right here,
I
or
love
like I'm
that.
taking a bath, or I'm listening to this song, or like getting a
Yeah,
hug from my child, or
right.
reading this page, this excerpt in this book, or like coming across this painting I saw, like whatever it is, you put it down. And so when you really need it, when you're struggling, and like another tool is just to go to your joy list and be like, what is one thing that I can do from this list right now that I have access to in this moment? You're not going to remember what those are if you didn't like have the note to come back to. So make a
Yeah,
joy list.
I love that.
I do
Oh, that's
too.
a great, yes,
I was gonna
that
say
was great. Yeah.
Dr. Chopra did a mic drop moment. She was like, "Period. That's it."
Yeah, she's like, "Okay, oh,
Bye,
yeah, by
guys.
the way, here's one
Bye.
thing you can do, and it's the most amazing thing you could do."
Oh,
That
it
really
helps me a
is.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, I love that. I'm gonna have Paul show me how to put notes in my phone.
That would be a great use of the notes section. And
Yeah,
then send
right?
me. I'd love to see your joy list.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Chopra. Seriously, I
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed this conversation, and I'm glad that you were able to
Absolutely.
join us, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I feel so bad I wasn't able to ask you guys any questions. I know that's not how this works, but
No,
hopefully there's
that's
a
okay.
I want to know more about this dynamic. I want to know what you do.
Oh,
I want
girl,
to
Oh,
know.
we could do a part 2. You'll be back. You
Yeah,
can come back
maybe
whenever you'd like.
I'll
our
flip it. I'll flip
dynamics
it
is
around.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Thanks,
seriously,
guys.
thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Thanks.
All right. I'll talk to you
Bye.
Bye.
soon. Words of wisdom from Dr. Chopra herself. What a good way to go out. That's really where I'm trying to tap into with my life. Just with therapy, it's like some days I just look forward to drinking a Coke Zero on the couch and putting on my favorite
Right.
show for 30 minutes.
Joy list, baby. Put it on the joy list.
Period. See, Barb in this joy list, we're never going to hear the end of it
Oh,
now.
I'm doing a joy list.
I agree.
I love that.
Because realistically,
Because
when
you can focus so much on the negative.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, people focus so much on it. I think we've been around people who focus so much on it, and then we have people in our family that are just amazing, that never focus on it and always think of the next day as a blessing, you
Grandma.
know? Grandma. Yeah. I mean, if anybody can show you optimism and positivity, it's her.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Are you all right?
Yeah, it like, it makes you feel like, wow.
Aw. This
Yeah.
one touched you?
Yeah, it did touch me. Yeah.
Aw, that's nice, Mom. I love that.
Yeah.
Yes, we got our first tear on the Hold On, I'm Calling My Mom podcast. Yay.
Yeah, because, life is hard and you can always get into that. We've talked about it before, where you can crawl up on the couch in fetal position. I could list 5 things right now of like why I'm, being negative, but you
Well,
kind
now
of
you
have
can list
to.
5 things of why you're a bad bitch.
That's right.
I love
No, I have
you.
to. Yeah, I love you too.
I'm glad that resonated with you. I'm sorry that you felt
Yeah.
emotional, but
No, that's okay.
you have always been a sounding board to positivity and optimism because I feel like many people as well, you've had setbacks and unfortunate hurdles and you've never played that victim mentality. And like I said,
Yeah.
you need a little push sometimes, but you do it on your own accord when you're ready and willing. You do fight the resistance sometimes, but you get there. And I've
I
always
just have your voice in the back of my head saying, "Get up, just do
yeah.
it. If you don't do it, no one else is going to do it."
There we go. And that's why it's a dream team effort.
I don't want to hear about you complaining about XYZ because you haven't did anything.
But you have always been a positive person.
I really try. I really try to be. I really do.
You have like your moments, like we all do, but you're
Yeah,
for the
but for
most
the
part a
most
very
part,
positive
yeah.
person.
I don't think I'm one to sit and be like, "Woe's me," or
Were you upset about our dad? Is that who you're that was
yeah, yeah,
what that
because
he
I have sat and said to him so many times, which she was saying, like, you gotta sit and try to sit and say, "Well, look at all the like, look at these things." You can't, and I always have said, like, "You have 2 amazing children," and not to pat me on the back, but I think I was a pretty good wife and,
mother.
partner in life kind of thing. I think it would've, yeah.
I think you were too.
So it's very hard when, you try to point out things to people, especially a spouse that you think you're going to spend the rest of your life with and raise your family. And, you're looking at, oh my God, my kids are amazing. Like, this is amazing. And then you have someone who just doesn't see anything. That's very sad. That's just sad. Like, nothing in life to him was a positive thing.
Mm-mm.
Nothing. Like, when she was saying that, like, I felt
The
the
pull.
burden of it on me, like, "Oh my gosh, how sad is that? That not one thing in life could that person sit and say,
But
oh,
I'm
that's."
happy or I'm proud or I'm positive of XYZ.
Yeah, like, it just really when she was saying that, it just, like, I felt like an emptiness inside. That's
For that person, not
for
yourself.
that person, for that person.
Well, I said we're gonna have an honest and transparent conversation because this is our podcast and it is what it is. We've talked about the sadness of my dad missing out on so much of life, of good memories and fun moments. And me, you, and Brett, we do so many things together and we don't have that
Yeah.
relationship with him. And I think we've always said, wow, like think about at the end of your life that you missed out on so many fun memories and just a lot of love because you just have been so stuck in this. It's everybody else. Life sucks.
Yeah, just life sucks kind of attitude. Yeah, or so many bad things have happened. So,
That's why I'm like
and I
that.
get it, but it's just said that there's no, like she said, like future, look at the future, how things would look. like if he could see the future of doing all these things with us and laughing the way we do and just being together and enjoying each other's company, like that fills my life with joy. Talk about a joy list. That's number one all the time, you know? So it just, yeah, that's kind of,
Well, that just goes to show what kind, loving, sweet, caring mother and person that you are, that you felt that for somebody that doesn't necessarily deserve that, but
thanks.
you're welcome.
Oh, that means a lot. Yeah.
Well, I wish I could give you a hug. A hug like this. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, I hope you have a little Kleenex over there. Well, thank you everybody for listening to this was a good episode. We
It
got a
was a
tear
good
out
episode.
from you. I
Yeah.
mean, we said on this journey, we might get a little tears, you might get a little laugh, you might get a little fun, you might get some enlightenment. So
And I've been good. I've been good with my emotions.
you have been. You've been holding on to them and
Yeah.
managing them
Yeah.
in a healthy manner. Thank you for that.
I've been suppressing them way down.
Yeah, I'm like, no, we don't need any suppression. Like, let it out. This is therapy. This is good for the soul.
It is good for the soul. It is good for the soul.
Well, thank you everybody for listening to another episode of Hold On, I'm Calling My Mom. Please, especially Barb shed a tear for y'all. Like the damn YouTube video, subscribe to it, share it, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at Hold On, I'm Calling My Mom. Email us with your questions, reviews at Hold On, I'm Calling My Mom podcast@gmail.com. And yeah, let us know what you think and just keep spreading the word. And hopefully maybe somebody shed a little tear along with you.
Yep. All right. I got to hang up now. Bye.
Okay. I don't always feel like we've mastered it yet. Like it goes in spurts, but I'll accept that. All right. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.